Halloween holds a very special place in our stop-motion hearts here at Apartment D, and it's not just because it's time to break out the spooky stop-motion animated movies that scared us as children but can now appreciate and dissect as adults, even though it's one of the best aspects of the spooky season. But specifically for us, Halloween played a huge role as to why we as a studio are where we are right now. Hello everyone, we are Apartment D Films, a stop-motion animation studio. This week, we're going to talk about the lore of how we came into existence, because it's actually pretty insane how it happened, and who doesn't love a scary backstory? Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. It was a dark and stormy night. Just kidding. It all started back in 2014 during the Great Hiatus, when all the big stop-motion studios in Los Angeles were between seasons for their shows. Soon-to-be co-founders Max and Sean had been working in the industry for about 2 years at this point and had just moved into a brand new apartment in Burbank labeled Apartment D.
Whoa. Here I come. Here I come.
Around mid-August, they were contracted to work on a Halloween short film that was described as mostly live action with a few stop-motion elements. They, of course, would be handling the stop-motion portion, which was none other than Mr. Bones O'Houlihan, our puppet of the hour. Originally, they thought, this is our first time working on a freelance job together. Let's do it, it'll be great. But little did they know what they were in for. Now, the original goal for the film was to be posted on Halloween, so they had about a month to get the animation done. But with production issues happening on the client's end outside of their control, the deadline then became Halloween, which extended them to 6 weeks. After getting the extensive preparations ready to turn their new Apartment D into their workspace for this new project, they were ready to jump in. By the way, let's give a quick round of applause to Warren, the director of photography for this project, who somehow perfectly matched the stop-motion lighting of their tiny apartment stage to the live-action footage that they were given. Shooting the film started around mid to late September, and it was around this time when Max decided to send the director an email trying to get an idea of how much they were going to be doing for the film, which read, "Hey Mr. Director, I dropped a new shot onto the Dropbox. As I'm cruising along, I'm trying to budget time. But to do that, I really need a rough cut of the whole project so I can have a better idea of how much shooting has to happen. Do you think you can get me a rough? It could be like totally garbage rough. I just need enough that I can add shots and rough out how many seconds of animation we're looking at. Let me know what you think." To which Mr. Director sent them the rough, and when they watched it, came to the realization of,
oh,
this skeleton is one of, if not the main character, of this 10-minute short film. The story was essentially about a goth girl who accidentally gets killed when a tree branch falls on her. But she wakes up to a skeleton named the Baron, opening her coffin and takes her to his office in the afterlife to handle her paperwork. But spoiler alert, she discovers that the Baron is a Haitian Loa of resurrection and death, Baron Samedi. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Who was formerly human, but because he's taken on the mantle of Baron Samedi, cannot cross over to the other side to see his family. So she offers to take the mantle instead so he can do so. And just to clarify real quick, we had no role in the writing or development of the story or the live action elements. We were just creating the stop motion. But back to our story, there was no mention of this fact that the Baron was a main character anywhere before. And because this puppet character is going to be interacting with a real life person, the animation had to flow just as well. This meant that Max and Sean had about a month to churn out about 10 minutes of Leica quality animation in that span of time. That's right, 10 minutes of Leica Studio, as in the stop-motion company responsible for creating Coraline, Paranorman, The Box Trolls, and Kubo and the Two Strings animation quality here in 6 weeks. For those of you who may not understand how insane that is, I'll do the math for you. Leica Studios, according to Google, gets about 3.5 to 5 seconds of animation done a week. That means, according to the math, in a 6-week time span, they get anywhere between 21 to 30 seconds done. Circle back to Max and Sean, who have to do about 10 minutes in that span of time. They are looking at about 30 seconds of animation a day. What Leica has to finish in 6 weeks, they have to do in a day. That alone, for good reason, would paralyze any normal animator, but the boys were in it to win it now. Through the power of friendship and explosive naivety, what they ended up doing was working around the clock, tag teaming the day shift, which Max took, being an early bird, and the night shift, which Sean took, being a demented night owl, to get it done. Sean offset his alarm clock to a time zone that doesn't exist for this project, and whenever Sean would go to bed, he would tell Max good morning, while Max would tell him good night. What did not help was that the live action footage they needed to animate to was basically sent in drips, which was very not helpful given the already unhinged, tight time constraint they were on. But after several weeks of straight work, 2 very messed up sleep schedules, and an extension of the deadline because of said production issues, they sent a nice chunk of their finished progress to Mr. Director around late October. To which Mr. Director replied with what has to be the most terrifying sentences that any person getting paid for to make something ever hears. Where's his pocket watch? He should have a pocket watch on his person somewhere. It's the most essential part of the story. Where is it? What pocket watch? You never mentioned a pocket watch. We never received any information about a pocket watch. No one told us anything about a pocket watch or its importance. Pause everything. Fun fact, we still don't know how no one told us about this apparently very important pocket watch. We're guessing that because of what was happening on their end, it slipped their minds because we genuinely never received a single word about this prop. But after recovering from that interaction, the loss of sleep they suffered, and Sean returning to the realm of daylight, Max and Sean never heard from Mr. Director ever again. That man disappeared like a ghost in the night, not even giving them their agreed-upon pay for the work they did. Max tried reaching out to him several times to see if the project was going to start back up again, but it was radio silent. And after the Halloween deadline passed, it was pretty safe to assume that the project wasn't happening anymore. And we never knew what happened to Mr. Director. Now, most people in this situation would probably think, well, that majorly sucked, I don't want to touch it, or anything similar to it for a while, if ever again. However, upon reflection and looking back at their work, Max and Sean realized that at the end of this disaster project was some of the best work they have ever created during that era, even if it would never be released. It was the first time since college that they created something together and showed how much they had learned from working at the larger studios, both artistically and even just managing the chaos of spreadsheets. After the project quote-unquote wrapped, they left the stage up and carried on with the spooky season. On a dark and stormy night, Sean booted the stage back up and animated one final shot with the Baron using the audio from Netflix's series The Spoils of Babylon.
This will not stand!
Max fell on his ass laughing when he saw it, and their burning spirits were reinvigorated to create their own Halloween short based on this one shot of silly animation. After that, they realized that if they could survive that shitstorm, imagine what they could make if they had the proper time, budget, and team to make it happen. Later that year, they created another short film for the winter holidays, which some of you might have seen, Merry Xmas. Over the following years, after tons of research, sweat, and the addition of their third partner, Cami, they established their very own stop-motion animation studio and named it after the place it all began, Apartment D.